Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Valro.
Cables come out. This one is kind of wearing on me a little bit.
When does the new one? It's about a month away from book stands, according to Greg.
Is Connor Weekman the first U of H quarterback to be on the cover since Andre Ware?
I think Klingler was on, right?
Yeah, Klingler. Yeah.
All right, we are presented by Rick Valro and Austin Underground. I'm going to get that out. We want to thank them for sponsoring. But you're watching Coffee and Football. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking. Get your questions in. We're off those 74 days, as Rob Enfield just put in the chat, from kickoff. So tell us your favorite number 74 as well. Lots of good ones to choose from today. Yesterday was a little limited, but today you got plenty of good options. So be sure to drop that in there. But let's start with recruiting.
Let's start talking about Doug English, Dave Studdard. Let's start by talking about those guys, Blake.
Trevor Goosby's the current one.
Yeah, Trevor Goosby's got a chance. He's stepping into a starting role. There's some real players that have been 74 at the University of Texas back in the day. That was not that was a good number to the University of Texas. Doug English, I think a two-time All-American, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, before a career with the Detroit Lions, I think he's still living in Austin these days as well. Dave Studdard, the father of Casey Studdard, the former Longhorn on the national championship team in 2005. So then you have Trevor Goosby, who's taller than all of them, actually. So we'll see if what that portends. But 74.
Adam Ulatowski.
Oh, now he may not be. Is Trevor Goosby taller than Adam Ulatowski?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Ulatowski's taller?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, here is our headline for the show. Seth Alcoser's on a Vaughn Lane headed to Houston.
There you go, Seth.
That's our headline for the show. All right, thanks for joining in today, guys. We'll see you all tomorrow.
I'm going to sit back and relax and take the con and just hang out while Jerry tells us all about recruiting, because recruiting news, Blake, has taken center stage. There's no doubt about it. Lots of maneuvering here in the last 24 hours, just with guys that visited this weekend, Jerry. A number of news bits. Vodney Cleveland decides he's not taking any more visits. That's the defensive lineman out of Birmingham Parker, Texas, and Florida expected to be one of the choices there. Then we also had the in and out of Dre Quinn, the defensive end out of Atlanta, who on Sunday said he was wasn't going to visit Notre Dame. Then on Monday during the day said he was going to visit Notre Dame. And then late last night, apparently told one reporter that he's no longer visiting Notre Dame and will make a decision between Texas and Clemson. A lot of news like that out there, Jerry. What's the latest on recruiting in your opinion at this point?
I think this stuff is changing hours to hour right now. I mean, that hour to hour, that's where we're at in this process. And it's, it's the if you live and die with every tweet, you're going to have a long month. So that's the thing I would say. But it's changing hour to hour. I mean, look, it changes. Everybody's like, oh, the coaches know everything behind the scenes. They're surprised too sometimes. I'm just like on staffs. So I just put that out there because things change and they're changing fast. So Vodney Cleveland is announcing on the 21st. He had a great visit to Texas, North Carolina, and Florida. I think those are the three for Vodney Cleveland. Obviously, you mentioned Dre Quinn. That'll be Texas or Clemson. I really think this may come down to, is Clemson trying to sell, you'll play a lot more as a true freshman because we lose these guys. We'll see on that where that goes. Jalen Lott changed his commitment date to July 8th from July 4th, which thank you, Jalen. That means there's not like 18 guys committing, making decisions on July 4th. So if somebody else would oblige us and move it too, that'd be great. But Jalen Lott's going to Oregon this weekend, and he's announcing on July 8th. A lot going on. Felix Ojo, people are saying we broke that news. He's scheduled to visit Utah this weekend, so Oklahoma got bumped for the Utes. I mean, hey, he could have just visited Navy if he was going to do that to Oklahoma, I guess. But I still think Texas is in a pretty good spot there. I know we have the graphic coming up for this weekend, which I think would be a good time to go over who's coming in this weekend. I just put a big article on Texas football, kind of where it's at in recruiting. I kind of went over every guy that I think still currently on the board for the Longhorns.
Hey, Jerry, I was going to ask you, Sam Roseborough, obviously a big commitment yesterday for the Aggies. Texas was involved with him, the big offensive lineman out of Tampa, St. Pete area, Clearwater, down in Florida. What that situation? He committed to the Aggies. He had an offer from Texas, could have committed to Texas, yes. But the NIL for Texas, they may have prioritized some money elsewhere in that one. Is that kind of where that sits right now, or are you reticent to say that 100%?
No, I'm not saying that for Texas. What I'm saying is A&M didn't have an offensive line commitment in their class, and they value him greatly. And I think Sam Roseborough is a tremendous prospect, by the way. I don't care. Y'all know this. I don't care where kids go to school. I don't. If I like a guy, I like a guy. I think Sam Roseborough has a chance to be a no-brainer NFL player if he keeps on the path he's on. But I think it simply came down to A&M valued him greatly.
All right. Need to say thank you to our sponsor, if you don't mind, this morning. Since 2004, Austin Underground has specialized in difficult underground commercial installations. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider too risky. You see all that work going on downtown. There's stuff going on underneath the ground, not just the cranes up top. Rick Vavro and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground. Rick Vavro, Texas grad, leading that company for himself and his workers there. Tony, I want to say hi to you as well this morning.
All right. So Blake, you lead us where we're going here. I'm going to pull up.
Okay. Well, that threw me for a loop. Let's see here. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, guys, number one, Deshaun Elliott hitting a payday. Bobby, why don't you start with telling everybody about that, and then we'll use that to segue into what else we're going to talk about.
He got paid, I think $9 million guaranteed, $12 million 2-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. So Deshaun Elliott, good for him, man. Longhorn, signed by Charlie Strong, same time as Malik Jefferson, same class. Jefferson was rated higher than Elliott, but Elliott has had a longer NFL career. I was looking over this, and go to this graphic next as we talk about Deshaun Elliott, if you don't mind. These are number of active players in the NFL. Texas right now sitting number 8, I believe, overall in that list at 50 players in the NFL. Jerry was doing some research prior to the show this morning. ESPN shows Texas actually with 54. They may be counting some guys that are on reserve or injured reserve or something, which is totally fine. But I was looking at DBs in the NFL right now. Really good list, guys. Josh Thompson, Jahdae Barron, Brandon Jones, PJ Locke, Chris Boyd, Andrew Makuba, Deshaun Elliott, Deshaun Jameson. Did I miss Caden Stearns when I went through that list? Is he still in the league, or did he? I don't think he retired. Did he?
No, he's in the league.
Yeah. So add Caden Stearns into that group as well. That's a healthy list of DBs, and one of the reasons why I think that even though there was a little lag there at times at DBU, Texas still has just a really, really strong history in defensive backs.
Yeah, a couple of things. Joe Z, Texas has 3 more than Oregon, so take that. But then there's if you look, who's won all the national championships of late? Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan.
LSU won in 2019.
Clemson, they hadn't had a little drop off because they're anti-portal for a while, and now Dabo either need to ruin his legacy or come around to college football changing, and which he has. We'll see if it pays off. But it's really interesting to see. Arkansas and A&M are tied, and that makes sense because those games could go either way every year. So it's not as big a talent difference as you think. But TCU more than A&M, that's got a sting. There's Bill Belichick and his Tar Heels. Jordan Hudson wants that number to get a lot higher for North Carolina. We'll see how that goes. But it's interesting to see North Dakota State with the same amount as Texas Tech. Cody Campbell's got a lot of work to do. That's not where you want to be. But just looking at the list, it's, who are your national champs? How many of these teams were playoff teams last year? Well, I mean, you had Georgia, you had Ohio State, Notre Dame, obviously Penn State, Texas, Oregon. There's some Clemson. I mean, this stuff falls in line. And if you look at why recruiting class rankings, why we harp on top 5 classes. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State sign top 5 classes about every year. They may have one year where they don't out of 6 or 7. Michigan, Jim Harbaugh was one of the rare guys that didn't stack top 5 classes and won a national title. He stacked number 1 scouting classes to win a national title. LSU, same thing in recruiting. They're always in the top 7 or 8. Notre Dame, I think they've done a great job evals. Penn State they're sneaky in recruiting. James Franklin does a great job. Oregon has recruited a really high level for recent years, but it falls in line.
Hey, Jerry, I'm looking at the top 17, that first column. How many, without looking at it, how many are not in the Big Ten or SEC? How many teams of 17? Just 2.
Yeah.
The alignment.
I knew Clemson.
Yep. Clemson and Notre Dame.
Yep.
That's it. So 50. You wonder why they want 4 teams in the college football playoff? That would tell you why.
Yeah.
They beat each other up. The NFL tells you they beat each other up. That's why Greg Sankey, Tony Petit, those guys want four teams in the playoffs if they're going to play another league game. Just saying that, anyways, look, UCLA has more players in the NFL right now than any team in the Big 12. And UCLA has been not very good for a decade.
Yeah.
2 decades almost now.
Yeah.
So that should tell you enough right there about what's going on. I mean, the first team in the Big 12 is TCU, and they're not in the top 20 in players produced for the NFL. So,
I mean, so you have. I mean, you look at this and 13 of the top 25, top 23, whatever that number is, are SEC. So, and then it just goes to the Southeast region too. Miami, Florida State, even through their ups and downs, and Clemson. So well over half of your teams are in your top 25 are from the Southeast region. There's a reason these kind of recruiting rankings of players drift from Texas to Florida up into the Carolinas. It's pretty simple math. There's more bigger, faster guys, especially on the offensive and defensive lines.
You want to know why Nebraska hasn't been any good?
Prop 48?
No. 22 guys in the NFL.
Yep.
That'll tell you why they just – I mean, they have fewer guys in the NFL than SMU. Nebraska has fewer guys in the NFL than Iowa State. Think about that.
Yeah.
Have we ever had anybody from Uganda listening?
I was just thinking
that. He may be breaking new ground here. Moroto, Uganda, listening in afternoon here. I wonder if he's on a safari at this point. So good luck to you, Larry. Welcome from across a couple continents here and a big ocean.
Going back to that graphic real quick, Jackson S. Good point here. Texas made up a lot of grounds in 2 years.
No doubt.
For sure. All right, we got super chats to get to. and then we got to talk a little more recruiting as well. But I want to take this one from Splendid Daddy real quick. Do the optics of losing top recruits to Texas influence the pursuit of players or NIL if you're OU or A&M?
Battle Royale. Yes. I mean, look, this goes back to why A&M fired Jimbo Fisher when they did. If Sark hadn't started turning it around, I don't think A&M would have fired Jimbo when they did. But that they were, in their mind, they were out of time, and they had this window, and Jimbo, they didn't take advantage of it. And Texas, Sark turning Texas around, forced A&M's hand on Jimbo, I think, earlier than it would have been if Texas was still struggling. And that tells you everything you need to know. And I've said this consistently. In the current NIL space we're in, when we go to 16 playoff teams, if both A&M and Texas aren't in the playoffs every 4 or 5 years, it's probably the coaching staff's messing it up, because they are two of the biggest NIL competitors in the game, and will be. There's going to be loopholes with the House settlement, Bobby. We all know this, or the rev share. There's going to be loopholes. Texas and Texas A&M are positioned to both be real competitors, but you have to have the right staffs. You have to have the right culture. You have to have the right leadership at your university, and everything does have to kind of align for it all to happen. But from a getting players perspective and talent acquisition, both these programs should sign top 10 classes every year, should be knocking on the door for top 5 classes every single year, in my opinion. That's just where I come out on this as far as a talent acquisition.
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with you at all. Until or unless teams take NIL away in this kind of recreated form that the House settlement is trying to get past, I see Texas and Texas A&M both likely recruiting well. OU may be a little bit behind because I think they're trying to run it a little bit differently with Jim Nagy at OU as general manager. I'm not sure he's doing it right, but they're trying to do it a little bit different. We'll see what that means.
All right, well, we got some more questions to get to, but first, let's talk some more recruiting, Jerry. And I know you wanted me to play Diabell's Huddle. I'm going to put it up for you and let you take it away.
Yeah, so we're going to play Diabell's Huddle because this is always an enjoyable experience. He is doing very well at Elite 11 if you like the competitions against air. And I think Diabell will do extremely well in Elite 11. He is one of the guys that's built for Elite 11. But I wanted to kind of watch Diabell, 5-star quarterback, get the Florida Gatorade Player of the Year, while I kind of go over the June 20th official visit list. We'll have a graphic tomorrow. We're making sure there weren't any changes on this. But Diabell coming in this weekend, obviously. Richard Wesley, edge prospect from Sierra Canyon. I checked in with his people yesterday. He is still coming in this weekend. Some people had asked about that in the chat, I believe, yesterday. Caden Prothrow, the tight end from Bowden, Georgia, who probably a Georgia lean over Florida right now. He's coming in this weekend from down in that same area, Manchester, Georgia, where Justice Terry is from. Obviously, John Turntine coming in this weekend, offensive tackle from North Crowley, along with Grayson McHugh, the offensive tackle from the Philadelphia area, who at Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas, his finalist with a July 1st decision. Texas really likes him, but I think that's an uphill battle there for Grayson McHugh. KJ Edwards, the running back from Carthage, is coming in. That's a big one. I like where Texas sits. He's been to A&M and LSU the last couple of weekends. Luke Wafel and Trenton Henderson. Trenton Henderson, he finally put out that we broke that news last week that he was officially visiting June 20th. That is happening. He canceled USC. He was at Florida last weekend. Florida, see what kind of ground Texas can make up. Auburn, LSU, Michigan. Those are your 5 for Trenton Henderson. I was at, like I mentioned, I was in Pensacola for their spring jamboree. I took in that. And he was pretty open in the recruiting process at that time. Florida and Auburn have been consistent there. We'll see if how much ground Texas can make up this weekend. He was on campus unofficially last weekend. Caden Finley, Jermichael Finley's son, obviously will be in this weekend. He was at Notre Dame last weekend and A&M the week before. I like where Texas sits. We'll see if they can close that out. Number of commitments, Jermaine Bishop is going to be in. And a lot of the guys who committed who've already officially visited, they're going to come in this weekend as well. The Cohen Browns, a lot of those guys. But Nicholas Roberts and Max Wright, this is their official visit weekend. I think two big ones this weekend for me are Kendall Gerville and Valden Sohn at defensive line. Gerville out of Fort Myers. I continue to think Texas is in a good spot for him headed into this weekend. He's visited Georgia, Florida, FSU, Miami's on the peripheral, but really Texas, Georgia, Florida there. And then Valden Sohn, he's a wild card recruitment for me. He's out of Sweden. He goes to school at Blue Ridge School in Dike, Virginia. Same guy. We've had him on the show, Brandon Collier, that kind of helps bring the football kids to the States, whether that be from Europe, from Africa. Same guy that got Hero Canoe to the state. So there's a connection there for Texas. We'll see with Valden Sohn. That one's a wild card recruitment for me. He's a tremendous talent. I mean, Florida, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Auburn, a number of schools in it for him. Then at defensive back, you have defensive back / linebacker. You have Chase Calicut from North Shore, who is I think his three are obviously Texas, Georgia, and Michigan. He's been at Georgia and Michigan the last 2 weekends. Linebacker Kosio Paula and Calvin Thomas from Cypress Ranch will be in. Paris Melvin, who we broke his official visit last week to Texas after an unofficial visit. Paris Melvin, the defensive back from Cy Springs, will be in. One of the more fun guys that's coming in this weekend from the family circle perspective is Kiwi Brown, the tight end from Corona Centennial. And that's because his father, Travis Brown's a former UFC star, and his stepmom is Ronda Rousey. So whatever you do.
That's so crazy.
He does not need to be on 6th Street.
Whatever you do.
Mom and Dad don't need to be going to 6th Street, baby.
Yeah, y'all be careful now. Be careful with your jokes. Actually, it'd be funny. Hey, Josie, you think Ronda Rousey would knock you out with one punch?
Yes. I've never met Josie in person, but yes is the answer to that, Jerry. There's unequivocal yes to that.
Hey, Bobby, the more you watch Diabell's, the better he gets.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at.
You know, Jerry, he's making I'm going to say this name and people are going to say, ooh, I don't like that comparison. He looks and plays like a more athletic Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler, if he were a tad more athletic, would actually probably and a little bit bigger. Is he bigger than Spencer Rattler? I hope.
He's Diabell is 6'2.5", 215.
Oh, he's definitely bigger than that. Yeah. So look, I know that sounds bad because you're comparing him to a former OU quarterback by way of South Carolina, but Rattler's now in the NFL. He got better as he progressed, but he's playing really well under some duress here.
Yes.
Which is a really good sign. And one of the things that I think is tough to grade sometimes, look, that was probably the toughest thing to grade about Quinn Ewers and maybe what some people got wrong about him being ranked so highly. He wasn't necessarily great under pressure. This guy's already seeing a lot of pressure in high school. And then at the same time, making some nice throws down the field. He looks like a guy that fits what Sark wants to do on offense. I'll just put it that way.
And CJ Stroud's name comes up a lot with Diabell too, right? And see if you can find CJ Stroud's senior huddle.
Does Bell have that kind of hose though?
Give me a second.
I mean, Jerry,
I think he does. I think he disguises it. But let's bring up CJ Stroud's senior huddle right after Diabell. Let's see on this, because CJ Stroud, I think, is probably a little better athlete than he was given credit for. But this is what's fun about recruiting is when we watch guys back to back and kind of see, because this is CJ Stroud. What would this have been 7 years ago? 7 years ago, and this was his senior year at. Was he Rancho? So yes, he was Little League teammates and really, really, really good friends with Silas Bolden. But I see the comparisons that some people make here, and I'm not saying he's going where C.J. Stroud did in the draft.
Hey, that play right there, C.J. Stroud threw that ball before the guy was open.
Yeah,
and before the guy had made his cut. I think that's Silas right there making that catch. Hopefully, but Stroud, he has a deeper. Oh wow! If you want to know what an NFL quarterback looks like, guys, it's that kind of play where people are dragging all over him and he's still able to get a ball, 10 yards out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good stuff. This is fun watching old quarterbacks or quarterbacks that are now in the NFL.
Now
he's got a deeper split, Jerry.
Yeah. Now what'll be fun is to take Diabell's senior tape when that comes out and compare it to CJ Stroud's senior tape, because that's the one thing we're doing is Diabell's junior tape versus CJ Stroud's senior tape, and guys make big gains. So that'll be interesting to see what they look like senior combined. But now CJ Stroud didn't play under as much duress. The one thing I'll say, there's Silas again, I think. The one thing about Diabell is they play a brutal national. Their schedule last year was tough. Their schedule this year is even tougher. So Diabell is going to be playing under duress because American Heritage still has a lot of talent. We've had Coach Mike Smith on here. They don't have maybe the offensive line talent that they had for maybe a 3 or 4 year run there, where they had like 2 or 3 D1 guys on the offensive line in American Heritage. They still have the skill talent, but they may not be quite as strong up front on the offensive line as they once were. And it's just the cycle thing. There's not as many of those guys, and they're more spread out in South Florida now to about 4 or 5 schools. So it'll be interesting to see. But Diabell will be playing under duress this senior year. That I can tell you.
I would say, just from evaluating these two back to back, Stroud has a stronger arm and he's bigger. He anchors a little bit more when he throws deep too, like wider split. But you're talking about one of the top. What is Stroud nowadays in the NFL? Is he a top 10 quarterback?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask this.
Is Stroud a top 10 quarterback? Do we think that right now? I know he's one of the better young ones, but overall, is he there?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think it'll be fun to do senior versus senior tape, because these guys make big strides, right? And as you train, as you get stronger, as you get older, it'll be fun to look back on those guys senior.
Yeah. Hey, Jerry, I was listening to you talk about these guys and where you're thinking that they, all the guys coming in. It feels like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Texas has a little bit of a sweet spot of how many visitors they like to have in each weekend. It feels like it's 13 to 15. Do you agree? I mean, this has been the second year in a row where that's kind of been their number each and every week, 13 to 15. Do you agree with that for a visit perspective?
I don't know. I think that's the way it's working out. But like this weekend, James Johnson's not likely coming in. So I think there's been some where guys have committed and gone elsewhere, or the visit that they've canceled a visit. Texas canceled a couple of visits as well. I think it's kind of working out that way, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it just may be a coincidence because they're scheduled to be 19 guys in this weekend. So we'll see. It was 20, but I don't think James Johnson's making it in. So it was 20, but right now it's 19. So we're at last year there were 41 official visitors in June. This year, if it all tracks, this weekend tracks, we're at 48. So I think it's just kind of the way it's worked out. Let's see if all 19 make it in this weekend. Like I said, it was 20. One is canceled.
All right, Jerry, before we move on, I'm going to let you take this opportunity to tell everyone about Ridge Wallet.
Man, June and July recruiting, NIL. Let's talk about Ridge Wallet. You better have your Ridge Wallet collectives, because this is your time. Bobby, you have your Ridge Wallet in your hand by chance?
I don't have it this morning.
Man, I got it at home too.
I think Jenny's got it, and she's in the car. So
the mall doesn't open till 10.
Yeah, losing your wallet.
The problem with it is that the internet is open all hours of the day when it comes to my wallet.
The Ridge wallet is unique, slim, modern design that holds up to 12 cards plus cash. It's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. The only thing it doesn't have is wife-proofed. All right, Ridge wallet, we got to get that. Over 50 colors and styles to choose from. Show your wallet off to the camera if you got one, fans. All Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. There's literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. I do think that's true. Does it give you the peace of mind knowing that Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology? Yeah, it keeps you safe from digital pickpocketers. There's over 100,000 and growing 5-star reviews out there. And let's just cut to the chase. Losing your wallet is the worst. But with Ridge's AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode kicks in. It's not just about wallets either. They curate premium everyday essentials, carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping and 99-day risk-free trial and a lifetime warranty on all their products. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off Ridge wallet by using On Texas, all caps, at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use code On Texas, and you're all set. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about him, and just say Bobby Burton or Jenny Burton or On Texas football, whatever that may be. And another thing, here's the most important thing about Ridge wallet: back doesn't get all jacked up. You know, you got the fat wallet on one side if you put it in your back pocket. And George Costanza, nothing else needs to be said. I could have just said, get your Ridge wallet because you watched George Costanza on Seinfeld and they just sold 100 today.
By the way, the Astros called up George Costanza yesterday. Lance McCullers, the Astros pitcher, had a freak accident in the clubhouse that apparently rolled his ankle. It's like his arm problems aren't enough, so he has to roll his ankle. But literally, George Costanza was played by Jason Alexander in the Seinfeld episodes. Well, the Astros called up a guy named Jason Alexander. That's where it's gone for Astros starting pitching. I mean, was this like the 7th one this year that's been out of commission?
Well, I'll tell you this. Lance McCullers took the Carlos Correa's made of glass and ran with it. And they need to show a picture of him in the dugout with bubble wrap as a joke around him. He needs to live in bubble wrap.
Blake, did you see Rocker's pitch the other day? Kamar Rocker.
I just saw a couple of highlights of it. I didn't get to see the whole thing.
Boy, he's got some movement on his pitches, man. Real, just nasty stuff.
I saw him in person in college. Yeah, he was great then. Speaking of Jay Lee Super Chat, thoughts on Woods' 19 strikeout no hitter. Dominant. Yeah, I obviously not an Arkansas fan, but you got to give credit where credit was due. That was one heck of a performance yesterday.
Hey, Blake, you married an Aggie. Did you ever date a Razorback?
No.
Okay, you didn't. Sooner you didn't complete like the rivalry trifecta in dating. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I got a little.
Yeah, so if you missed it, Gage Wood out of Arkansas. He's from Batesville, Arkansas, pitched a no-hitter against Murray State yesterday. I think only one batter reached base all game long, and it was a hit by pitch. And so that's phenomenal. Hat tip to those guys. Of course, not really rooting for Arkansas, but fantastic performances deserve a hat tip, man. Good for him. Arkansas staved off elimination that way too, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. I think the first player to throw a no-hitter in the College World Series was actually a Texas pitcher, if memory serves me correctly, but I can't remember.
1960.
I'll have to go back and look at that and see who it was. We got more super chats this morning. Another one from Jay Lee. Thank you again, Jay Lee. He said another site did Sark's Mount Rushmore during his time at Texas. They had Bijan, Quinn Ewers, John A. Barron, and Kelvin Banks. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
interesting.
I don't know. Like, is it if it's recruits versus players? It's two different lists. So because Bijan was not a Sark recruit, and neither was Jade. So I guess they're just saying as players.
I don't know, man. I mean, Xavier Worthy not being on that list, in my opinion.
Ooh,
yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. For sure.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm different. I'd already have Colin Simmons on it.
Yeah. And I get it. My take on that for the post Sark era or whatever you want to call it, like I would, if you start talking about Mount Rushmores for me, and look, I know Bijan is maybe the best player Sark's ever coached at Texas. Could be, truly. Okay. The problem I have with it is that I have a problem putting Bijan on over Roshan Johnson, and not because of his play, because Bijan's a better running back than Roshan. But when you start talking about Mount Rushmore, you're not talking about necessarily just play on the field. And believe me, Bijan does a ton for kids in the area and stuff. But when you start talking about Mount Rushmore, I start thinking about the guys that carried the C on their chest for captain.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm right. It's just when you start talking about putting that sort of stuff out there, you want the guy to also not only be a great player, you want him to be a team captain, somebody that had people follow them. You know what I mean?
Roshan and we'll see if there's another one. He's the only backup running back that was ever the leader of a team in college, to my knowledge. I'm sure there was somebody in the 80s or something, but he pulled off something that I've never seen done. And guys like Roshan were huge in the turnaround of this Texas program. You know, the guy comes in as a quarterback and volunteers to go to running back, first of all. You know what type of leader you have to be to do that? To volunteer to move to running back.
All my hopes and dreams of being a quarterback for the last 10 years, and my team needs a running back this week. I'll just change my dreams.
Yep. For the betterment of my team and program. Go ahead and count how many guys you've heard of that did that. And that guy is always going to be underrated. I hope that when his NFL career is done, he is part of the University of Texas. Now, I could see him being a front office NFL guy, but I hope he's part of the University of Texas in some form or fashion, kind of like Michael Huff when he's
good idea for him, the NFL front office.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think he has such a leadership that he could run an organization like that and be the guy you want in front of the mic talking about the Chicago Bears one day. I could see it, but I hope it's at the University of Texas. I think he's that important to Texas in the future.
All right, next question this morning. I think that's all the super chats for now. Oh, no, we still have one other one. This one from Dub. Going to recruiting for just a moment. Thank you, Dub. Is Texas still recruiting Donovan Webb, Jerry?
They have not been, and that's one that I think the guy's a tremendous football player. He is really, really talented. He's committing July 2nd, I believe, and I'll be shocked if he doesn't have a career in football. He's just one of those guys, you know. But Texas is not. Devon Benjamin is their guy, right? They have Yaheem Riley committed. Paris Melvin's coming in this weekend. He's on that OV list too. But I think Donovan Webb, it's very rare you see a high school safety that had 110 tackles 2 years in a row as a sophomore and junior. Hadn't even played his senior year yet. I think he is a baller. The same way Quandre Diggs was a baller. I think he's going to be very good wherever he goes.
And one other recruiting super chat from Longhorn Frenzy 1. You as always. He said, I had to jump on a business call, so I missed part of the show. But Jerry, do you have any update on KJ Edwards? Seems A&M thinks they're in a very strong position for him.
Look, I think he changes OV from June 6th to June 20th. And I think Texas enters the weekend in a solid spot. But you have to close the deal, and it will be a push. LSU was all in on him 2 weeks ago. A&M was all in on him last weekend. We'll see where it comes out after this weekend. He's not scheduled to announce until August 2nd. We'll see if he sticks to that date. By the way, Duke Peeler, I agree. We've talked about this before, Rod, Bobby, and I on a Friday live stream, and we're going to do it, Duke Peeler. Rojo Award. This season, Bobby, the OTF is going to have the Rojo Award for Texas football, whoever that is. We're starting the Rojo Award.
DeAndre Moore is the leader in the clubhouse.
He's the leader in the clubhouse starting the season. I agree.
Based on what I saw last year.
Yep. If somebody else, Trey Moore.
Yeah.
Even though he transferred in, he's rare. He was a captain-ish last year.
Or Trey Wisner.
Yeah.
Good one.
Those are the types of guys that are the glue.
Yeah.
I mean,
here, Mark Valdez, the Roshan Johnson Impact Award presented by OTF. There's our video. Thank you. Done.
Good stuff.
You guys have great ideas. Keep them coming.
Yep.
Hey, also, we didn't talk about this yesterday, but I want to bring it up. Alfio's in here saying good morning, fellas, and congratulations to his son.
Yes.
He committed to Washington State over the weekend, and Alfio got to announce it to everybody on Father's Day. So I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah,
and that's really cool that his Jacob committed to Washington State on his OV on Father's Day. Congrats to Alfio. That's dream come true stuff for dads, and congrats to him. And look, his son. Really, Jacob, Alfio, correct me if I'm wrong. He had no offers after his junior season, and he kept working. He stayed. Jacob's a talented kid, but he stayed true to his process and stayed true to not letting the late recruiting affect him. And he started UTSA, I believe, may have been the first to offer him, but it really started picking up for him during the spring evaluation period, whether it was high schools or camps. And congrats to Jacob. Really cool.
And Alfio.
Yes.
Full circle moment for you, buddy.
We're going to get to some more questions this morning, and let's do some team-related ones. We'll start there. Archmania says, how many games in before the Arch Media Frenzy starts? Or has it already started?
I was going to say, has it not already started? There's a 1 in 5 chance that Arch is trending on Twitter this week sometime for, I don't know, losing his ID. I mean, I think it's already started, guys.
So I have it kind of in categories. I think right now, Archmania is here. If he beats Ohio State and Texas beats Ohio State, and he would be a big part of that, right? You're not going to go 10 of 30 with 3 picks and beat Ohio State on the road. So he obviously have to play well. If Texas beats Ohio State, then I think he's going to Tim Tebow levels immediately. It's my opinion. And in today's social media, that's going to be more than Tim Tebow. But it's going to Tim Tebow levels if Texas beats Ohio State. Right out of the gate.
And then on a related note, Frioli93 says, what will the quarterback competition look like after Arch is gone? Potentially Owens, Lacey, Bell, or do you think one is bound to transfer before then?
We've talked about this. I mean, look, if Arch stays through 26, which we believe he is planning to do. So I think that if he had his druthers, if his family had their druthers, he'd stay at least through 26. Okay. So that would put Trey Owens as a redshirt junior without having started a game. So the thought process there may be, okay, it's getting time. Trey may need to go find a place to play. Lacey and Bell, then you would have to see, okay, who's next. And so I don't know, in taking out a crystal ball and acting like we know where all these guys are going to look. I mean, look, Dia Bell may come in, light the world on fire, and all of a sudden KJ Lacey wants to transfer. Or KJ Lacey may be ahead of Dia Bell, and Dia Bell, I mean, you just never know, man.
Yeah.
But I do think the thing with Sark that is and I like all these players individually, don't get me wrong. But when's the last time you worried about quarterback at Texas recruiting? Can somebody explain that one to me? Like, we worried for a decade about quarterback. Did we not? I mean, a decade. Are y'all worried about quarterback recruiting right now? I'm not saying it's not important, because it is, obviously, but you feel like quarterback recruiting is in pretty strong hands. So I think that no matter who it is, it'll be some version of that group. I just don't know which one.
And then we have a sports-related super chat here from Splendid Daddy. He says, if Texas beats Ohio State, what do you think his Heisman odds will jump to? Make your predictions. And
he's already even odds right now, right?
He is definitely the favorite. I'm going to pull him up real quick. Sorry, I should have had this ready ahead of time, but I didn't.
Well, that does depend. That does depend on how well he plays in that game. I mean, it's going to go up, but it depends on how well. Like I said earlier, he's not going to go 10 for 30 with 2 picks and Texas wins at Ohio State. It's not going to happen. So he's going to have a 60% completion day and put up some big plays. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, if the guy walked away 18 of 30 with an interception and 260 yards and a win and a couple of touchdowns, he's going to be a significant favorite in the Heisman race. Unless Cade Klubnik tears LSU to shreds in Clemson game 1. That's how quickly this stuff changes.
Boy, if Cade Klubnik does that, you think how hot would Brian Kelly's feet be the rest of the year?
Well, here's the flip side. Yes, here's the flip side. What if Nussmeier beats Clemson on the road? He's suddenly going to jump to the top too. There's your 3.
Or 4, you had Jeremiah Smith, dude. The top 5 of the top 6 right now play big games the first weekend of the season, because you have Julian saying the quarterback for Ohio State.
I'm just saying it ain't going to be Julian saying. I mean, look, if Lenoris Sellers leads South Carolina to the playoffs, he may jump up the charts. Like, how big of a jump does a guy like that make in his second year starting if South Carolina can put the pieces around him? Because he has the ability to kind of have a shock the world type talent, right? Even though some people know who he is. Nationally, people, I don't think, accept his talent level quite yet. Because he's got a lot of big games too this year. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But whichever quarterback of these 3 up here has the best game in a win, because they all are right there, is going to be your Heisman favorite after week 1.
I agree. I do agree. Oh. Well, more questions to get to, but first, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Omaha Steaks.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Omaha Steaks. I've mentioned it. We had it for Father's Day and the week before. Also, with 4th of July coming up, it's fun getting out there grilling, and it's the peak of summer. 4th of July cookouts are a tradition. What's your favorite thing to grill? Mine, it's steaks. I love just a New York strip steak to the bone. From handcrafted steaks to family grilling favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. For all of your 4th of July grilling fans, enjoy USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, and so much more. During their 4th of July sale, you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners can get an extra $45 off with promo code ONTexas at checkout. Again, 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners can get an extra $45 off with promo code ONTexas at checkout. Make sure you check that out. There's nothing quite like the all-American feeling of a 4th of July cookout. You want the perfect steaks to go with that. Unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. Grass-fed, grain-finished beef has more marbling for exceptional flavor and is the choice of steakhouses and professional chefs around the world. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917, a family-owned company with more than 100 years of expertise. Get fired up for the 4th with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their 4th of July sale, and for an extra $45 off, Use promo code on Texas at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $45 off using promo code on Texas at checkout. See site for more details. That's omahasteaks.com.
Thank you, Bobby. And jumping right back into more questions. Let's take this one from Davey. If Georgia and Florida are both good by the time Texas plays them, which road game between Ohio State, Georgia, and Florida will have the craziest atmosphere?
If Florida's winning, it's going to be Florida because the Swamp is a different level when they're good from a loud standpoint. If Ohio State was a night game, now Ohio State will have the most vitriol.
I think it could still be Ohio State. I'm just gonna.
There's such a lead up to the game, right?
Yeah, and there's some history there.
Yeah,
there's no history between Texas and Florida really. They played once this past. I mean, Ohio State. There's the game from last year that people are still talking about. Ohio State's coming off a national championship. Texas is kind of coming in with. I feel like. While I agree that it would be even more thunderous if it were a night game, I think that Ohio State will be as tough of an environment as Texas plays in all year, is my guess.
And then our next question this morning, more of a comment actually from Champ Bailey 3 says, Bobby and Jerry was listening last night and y'all were talking about freshmen with the most snaps. I couldn't help but think maybe Bo Barnes will have the most just based off of Smith's usage last year.
I think Bo Barnes is going to be a very good football player. I think we'll see him on special teams. I think he'll get on the field a little bit. But I think he's coming in at a time where there's so much experienced linebacker play around him. It's actually a good thing for him. If he comes in and beats out some of these older guys, then he's a superstar. But the reality is it gives him a chance to get his feet under him and continue to learn. Now, he's ahead, I think, of from a linebacker feel and understanding standpoint. His dad was a really good linebacker that played college football. But I still think when you have Anthony Hill, when you have Leon LaFau, when you have Ty Anthony Smith, when you have Brad Spence, Trey Moore taking reps at linebacker, I think that naturally leads you to Bo Barnes is going to be a key player on special teams. He'll get some reps. But barring injury, I'm not sure he's going to play enough snaps this year. That doesn't mean I don't think he's going to be a really good player because I do. It's just there's more depth at linebacker on this team. We've talked about it, and there has been at any point in time under Sark.
Hey, Jerry, our answer to that question, who would be the most used freshman, it varied. Jonah Williams was talked about. Nick Brooks was talked about. Justice Terry. One of the young wide receivers, obviously, may get a lot of run. The leader right now in that regard probably be Dalen McCutcheon. Maybe James Simon gets used a bunch if he leapfrogs some of the older running backs. The tight end group is a possibility. I mentioned Grayson Littleton as a real possibility. Never know if maybe Cade Phillips breaks through at the other corner. Ahead of Kobe Black or if someone gets injured. So we'll see. I don't know. As with any team that is as talented as Texas, okay, some things have to break the right way for you when you're this talented a team and you're that young. Yeah. But is it, I will say to Jerry's point, he mentioned Nick Brooks right off the bat. Is it feasible that Nick Brooks is the third tackle on this team ahead of Andre Kojo and Jaden Chapman? And the answer to that right now, based on what Jerry has reported and what I've heard as well, is that yes, there's a chance that Nick Brooks is the third tackle on this team.
And the reason I brought him up last night was 2 years ago, and it's really good injury luck. Texas had, or was it 3 years ago, they had all 5 starters play the entire season without injury. And you saw what happened last year, which is more like what happens on a normal offensive line year, right? A couple of guys go down for whether it's a game or most of a game or a couple of games, And suddenly Trevor Gooseby played a lot more snaps than he was expecting to, and people were expecting him to. So to me, the reality is on the offensive line. 3 years ago was such an anomaly where all 5 starters played the whole season, and that just doesn't happen. I mean, Ohio State won the national championship last year and lost their highest picked offensive lineman to injury. So injuries are going to happen. And so who is the guy that's prepared best if, a tackle gets nicked and misses a game, another guy gets nicked and misses a lot of a game? It's probably him. So as long as that maintains, his snaps to just go up. And I think the same at wide receiver. Like last year, Texas, 2 years ago, they had great health at receiver with Worthy, Mitchell, and Whittington. Last year, they didn't have really good health at receiver. I mean, Isaiah Bolden missed half the year. Some other guys were Isaiah Bond missed half the year. You had other guys that were nicked up and missed some time. So it afforded snaps to guys. And so to me, a team that's this talented, it comes down to health. I don't think there's a opportunity for a Collins, and I don't think there is a Colin Simmons. And I think Justice Terry is a tremendous player. He's just different. Colin Simmons is a freak edge rusher, right? I'm not sure there's that positional possibility this year for a freshman to play that many snaps without injury ahead of him.
Hey, we need to go back. We need to circle back. I agree with Jerry. We need to circle back on some news because a lot of people have joined us, Jerry, if you don't mind. Vodney Cleveland has canceled his official visit to Miami for this coming weekend. He apparently is down to Texas, Florida, and North Carolina. Jerry says that's a defensive tackle out of Birmingham. The latest on Dre Quinn, the defensive end out of Atlanta. He had said while leaving Texas that he was unlikely to visit Notre Dame. Then he got back home yesterday to the Atlanta area and said he was going to visit Notre Dame. And then he told someone subsequent to that late last night that he's now no longer going to visit Notre Dame. So if you followed all that, it's possible. And he's saying that he could commit this week. That's Dre Quinn. He's expected to choose as of right now between Texas and Clemson. Then there's Sam Roseborough, the offensive lineman out of Tampa, St. Pete area, Clearwater. He has committed to Texas A&M over Texas. The Longhorns liked him a lot, but he chose the Aggies at this point. And then there's a number of guys that are visiting elsewhere, and things are happening all the time. Malachi Lee, Jerry, we forgot to mention this earlier on. He's the big offensive lineman out of Hawaii. He visited Georgia over the weekend. He is now saying that he's going to announce his decision on June 26th. He has Michigan this weekend. Texas likes him a lot. Felix Ojo is visiting Utah. I mean, there's so much going on right now. We have a thread on ontexasfootball.com that I would encourage everybody to participate in. Jerry's given it the lowdown on just about every prospect there is. Make sure you check that out. And then we have a load of guys coming in this weekend as well for official visits. So make sure you give it a chance.
Let's see here. We got a super chat from Jay Lee, I believe. Again, yeah. And Jay Lee says, "Is with Baxter being hurt last year and now being a year behind, would have been leaving to the draft after this year. Does that impact our running back recruiting?"
I don't think it does because I'm a little different on Baxter. Whenever he comes back, if he has a good season, say he puts up 600 yards, he needs to go pro. He had a serious knee injury last year. So if he comes back and has a good season, he probably needs to go pro because you saw what happened with Jonathan Brooks. That's where I come out on CJ Baxter. Is if he comes back, whether that's game 1 or game 4, and he has a good quality season after the injury he had, I think he should probably go pro wherever that takes him.
Isn't that, let me ask you this. Isn't that the case with most running backs? Wouldn't you suggest the same thing for Trey Wisner?
Yes.
Regardless of injury?
Yeah.
If he gets a draftable grade, because I mean, it's just tread on tires at that point. It's not like, I will say with Wisner, one thing he might be doing is building more armor.
Right. He may need some time.
NFL, because he's a slighter build running back. I don't know. It's an interesting discussion because there's a mix there of putting more armor on or proving, like Travion Henderson had the injury he came back from last year, Jerry. The Ohio State coming back. Maybe Baxter's like that, theoretically, if he were to finish his senior year. Something to watch. Hopefully he just returns from his injury healthy. That's the biggest thing. I mean, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, I guess.
Somebody has a good question here, and I don't know, where was it? Sarah McCoy, I think, asked the question. Sarah, this is actually a really good question. The chat may have an opinion on this too. That's actually a really good question. Who has the toughest non-con football schedule of the SEC members?
Wouldn't it be, does Florida play Miami and Florida State again?
Yep. That's always, I mean, last year they had UCF too. I mean, that was easy last year.
Georgia
Tech.
Georgia Tech. And then if they have a preseason game, that's a high-end game. Georgia Tech better than expected, right? Or most people would say.
Yep.
So Florida this year, they open with Long Island, then they go to South Florida, then they play LSU, and then at Miami, then
and FSU.
And then they have Miami and FSU.
Yeah.
What about Georgia? Does Georgia play anybody in preseason?
Let's take.
And they've got Georgia Tech.
They have nobody besides Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Unless you count Charlotte and Marshall as
no
world beaters.
No.
You could combine those teams, and it's not a tough game. All right. So for Georgia, I was thinking, LSU has Clemson and La Tech. Oklahoma has Michigan and LSU.
South Carolina has Virginia Tech, Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
Virginia Tech's not any good, though, dude.
But then a couple of directional Carolinas.
Bobby, they're better than FSU.
I don't know. Not FSU may have a quarterback this year.
Yeah,
let's see.
That's a rivalry.
Yeah. I would go Florida at this point. Just me personally.
Alabama has FSU. Somebody asked about Alabama. Alabama has FSU, and I think that's it.
Bubkus. They don't have anything. They never. That's why
Bama has.
They schedule one big game interconference, and then the rest are Samford and UT Chattanooga.
Bama has FSU and Wisconsin this year because
that was a here we go. How about Arkansas? They're going to play Notre Dame. And I thought they had one other big one, but I guess not. Never mind. Scratch that. They just played Notre Dame.
That's a hard one.
So Notre Dame has A&M and Arkansas this year. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Texas in 2 years.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you about, Jerry, there's some people that have asked about it in the chat or mentioned it. Chris Stewart, the wide receiver out of Shadow Creek, apparently has removed some of his Texas stuff from his social media accounts. That's the wide receiver that's been committed to Texas for a long time. His dad actually has been on this, visit our show at times. Yet he still has the Texas commitment pinned at the top of his Twitter account. He's expected in this weekend as of right now, but he did just get back from a Tennessee visit. We don't really know what's for sure going on at this time in that one, right? I mean,
we'll do some checking after the show on that.
Okay, fair.
More questions this morning. Actually, first, Bobby, why don't you tell everyone about Rick Valvero and Austin Underground? Then we'll get to those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Austin Underground is specialized in difficult underground commercial installations since 2004. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider too risky. Rick Valvero and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground. And you can also check out their affiliated company, Texas Road. If you have big road projects in and around Central Texas, and think you need some help, make sure you reach out to the guys at Texas Road. Rick Vavro and his team can help you out. Thank you very much, Rick, for your ongoing support of On Texas Football.
Hey, Blake, Dennis Emery asked baseball news. I don't got a commitment yesterday, right? So what else is going on in baseball?
Yeah, so Luke Dotson, left-handed pitcher from Mississippi State, actually committed yesterday after visiting last week. A good pickup there. And then Texas hosting a few people this week, including a very big prospect, one of need for sure. So I also would think that we might see more decisions come down the line this week. It should be a pretty eventful week. I mean, we're only, about 2 weeks away from 2 weeks from tomorrow, from the portal officially closing. So it's now crunch time for Texas. They've been, as I said, very meticulous and going through a lot of players, hosting a lot of players. So I would expect a lot of fireworks going forward over the next couple of weeks for sure.
Hey, Sean McCumber has a great super chat, and I have an easy answer on this one, in my opinion.
So Sean says, what MAC team would Sark do the best with?
Take out 06. My answer is going to be
05.
05, yeah, won national title 06. Well, my answer is going to be different than most people. I think it's the 01 team that lost to Colorado in the Big 12 championship game. I think if you look at the parts on that team and Sark's offense, just think about
underrated team, by the way.
That offensive line, that roster was probably the second most talented in Texas. We're counting the guys who redshirted. But Chris Sims would have been really good in the downfield offense under Sark, in Sark's scheme. Roy, BJ, Sloan, Bo Scaife,
Said Benson.
That team offensively would have been a juggernaut because Sims would have been a really good scheme fit with Sark, in my opinion. And Said Benson as a back in that scheme. I mean, that offensive line was big and powerful. That to me was the team. And somebody said Colt would have been a first. I don't think Colt would have ever been a first round pick due to lack of arm strength. But he's a hell of a player.
Unbelievable player. I think that how about this one? How about like 12 or 13 with David Ash at quarterback? I know like Texas was pretty darn good in 01, right?
Yes.
I thought they could have extracted more. I mean, can you Sark with Marquise Goodwin? I mean, he is Marquise Goodwin very similar to Xavier Worthy, right? In size and feel, ability. I could see someone like him with guys like Malcolm Brown. I mean, just my thought process on that is maybe he could have extracted more out of that team from an offensive standpoint.
I think
14 or 15, can't remember which.
I think it's always underrated how talented that 01 team was. For me, I mean, dude, Victor Ike is a backup running back, right? On a team like that. There's the speed. What could you have done with that? Montrell Flowers was still on that team. By the way, Brock Edwards was the second tight end on that team. Your offensive line, I mean, Mike Williams obviously was the number 2 pick in the draft. Defensively, that team had a lot of talent too. When you just think about Corey Redding, Marcus Tubbs, D.D. Lewis, Rawls, obviously good quality college linebackers. But Rod, Ahmad Brooks, Jammer, Vasher, Dakari Pearson, Phil Geiger. I mean, you could just go down and down the list. That team was extremely talented, but they were really talented on offense as far as terms of just pure. I mean, Roy Williams, we'll see what happens around. We can go, Roy Williams, the best wide receiver I've seen play at Texas. Think about him in Sark's offense.
Hey,
think about B.J. Johnson in Sark's offense. I mean, Bo Scaife. I mean, those are all high-level dudes.
Before we get to our last question, I do want to bring this up. Chris Stewart's dad in the chat, and I want to make sure everybody saw this. He said Chris is committed to Texas 100%. Just spoke with Coach Jackson last night. And then someone in the chat made mention about Chris's brother going to Utah, and then he even answered that for whoever asked that. My apologies. I can't remember who asked. Chris and Carter have 2 different paths. Christopher is committed to Texas 1,000%, and the Texas coaching staff knows that.
First of all,
Yeah.
congrats to the Stewart family, and have fun with those travel back and forth, man. You got a lot on your plate the next few years with that.
I bet he's happy he doesn't have to worry about,
Exactly right.
putting his kids through college. Holy cow. I mean, I just have one graduate and one in it, and I'm paying right now. So congratulations to the Stewart family.
By the way, Shadow Creek, a lot of talented kids over there. A couple of going to be junior corners. One long arm kid who I think has got a chance to be a big time player. I think Joseph Adai's son is over there as well. They got some good young players at Shadow Creek.
And our last question for the day comes from Tyler Fisher. My apologies, Tyler. I told you I'd asked this earlier and nearly forgot. Do we expect Jordan Washington to have a pretty good year, even with the tight end from Cal coming in? There was so much praise around him before his spring injury. Man, I hope he balls out this year.
I think there's some question about it for sure, but it's because he's never put it in play yet at Texas. It's the same thing that we talked about across multiple positions. Talented, but inexperienced. That if there is one like catchphrase to describe Texas right now at so many places, that's it. Talented, but inexperienced. And I do expect Jordan Washington to play quite a bit. I expect Spencer Shannon to be an inline tight end for him. And so I feel like we'll see where it goes, but I do believe that injuries, based on what I'm being told quickly, Jack injuries, is going to be hard to beat out. I mean, he had 50 plus catches last year, 48 catches. I can't remember what the number was, but he's they identified him in the portal early and stayed after it. They think he's going to be a really good player. So.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Vavro and Austin Underground. We want to thank them, along with Omaha Steaks and, of course, Ridge Wallet, for sponsoring today's show. Bobby, what do you have later today?
Well, recruiting breakdown. Jerry and CJ are going to go. I don't know what they're going to talk about other than all the craziness going on in recruiting right now. We also have the live stream tonight, 7 o'clock. Please join us. Rod Babers, Aaron Hogan, Jeff Powell get started on that. And then we just have news and notes all day long. If there is any breaking news, we will obviously, that's of major significance, we'll obviously break in and have a video here today on that. Also, make sure you check out ontexasfootball.com. Jerry just put up a huge, long article. Become an OG and join us, if you would, over there for $39.95 a year for first-time subscribers. Use the promo code OTFOG and get a subscription to ontexasfootball.com. We appreciate you guys joining us every morning. It is recruiting time right now, guys. That's what's happening, Blake.
All right.
Things changing. I mean, look, Jerry and I went to bed last night and we thought one thing and woke up this morning and found out something else.
And by the way, there were some college coaches that did the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
I'm not talking about Texas. I'm talking in general.
Yes, it's fun.
So be sure to also hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell so you're notified anytime we post content, go live, whatever it may be. And as Bobby said, between that and ontexasfootball.com, we got you covered around the clock with Longhorns news. Of course, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.